Hey everyone, Genome Gaming here. Coming at you with the next episode in my Marvel Strike Force Beginners Review Series. Basically, this series is going to take a look at, what new players should be doing to get ready for the mid-game, the end-game, and all that. This is especially aimed at free-to-play players, right? Because, your resources are limited, and they are very valuable, and I don't want to see you waste them. So I've been noticing some chat, actually, in my alliance from some newer players talking about some new teams they should build. And, of course, I always got to chime in on Discord or whatever. But my number one team that I say you go for early is the Sinister 6. So I'm kind of going to go in depth on the OG original Sinister 6, that is, in this video, and tell you why they're so important and why I think they're the first team you should be going hard for. First things first, let me show you something. This is my new free-to-play account, whatever. My other account's pretty much free-to-play too, but I haven't spent money in that game in like 2 years or whatever. But I've been, 58 days playing the game on this account, right? So not very long, just under 2 months, right? Okay, roster's coming along nicely. But what's really important to say about that is if you look at my Sinister 6 where they currently are right now. Okay, now I'm not putting much into gear and levels in them right now, but I will to a point, and I'll tell you what. Let's just take a look at this. So Rhino's already at 5 stars. Shocker, I'll get back to Shocker, Green Goblin, Mysterio. Vulture's already at 5 stars. So Rhino is a Blitz character, easiest farm in the game, or is any Blitz character. That's why most of them aren't very good, but he's good on the team, of course. So I went hard from him early, and he is actually a pretty good tank early on. So. And Vulture is Arena Store. Also an easy farm, but the credits are harder to come by. You actually do your arenas every day. Try to max out your arenas every day if possible, especially at these low shard levels and like low character levels. They're super easy, and you can punch up fairly regularly, about 10k, and usually be all right. So those two are really easy farms. They are always available in those two stores. One of the big reasons, though, that I highly recommend that new players start farming Sinister 6 right now is because of the nodes where these 3 characters are now. Because of Doom War, they've had some shifts, right? And every single one of these 3 characters has been placed on a very low node. Let's start with the very first one, Mysterio. Let's see. Of course, my thing is right in the way. Okay, I have to go the other way. Sorry, my little portrait's down there in the way. But Mysterio is on Heroes 2-9. I'm sorry, even lower than that. He's on Heroes 2-3. Oh my gosh, I can't read today. Anyway, Mysterio's on 2-3, and he's not normally there. Usually he's way further up or a raid store. He's also available in the raid store, by the way, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Okay, but normally he was a lot longer to get to before, right? So take the opportunity. Everyone has this unlocked by like day 3. Start farming now. Shocker. Used to be another really late game farm or late mid game farm, right? He's now in Heroes 3-9. Once again, like a week or 2 into the game, you should be having this guy unlocked. Or not unlocked, but you should have this node unlocked and start farming him right away. Okay? And finally, this is the really good part, is Green Goblin. He's also in a really low node on Villains campaign. He's on Villains 2-3. Now, there is another place to get him, and that's just a little bit further into the game, and that is Nexus. I think it's in the 5th. Yeah, there he is. Got him unlocked also in Nexus 5-6, right? So you got 2 places to farm Green Goblin. Okay, why is all this important? Well, like I said, those players aren't normally there, or those characters aren't normally there. And you want these guys so badly, and not because they're a good team or anything, because they're not. They usually will suffice for lower-end nodes and upper lower-end nodes, maybe a boss node on the campaign, you know what I mean? But they're not good for raids. They're middling. They're okay in low-end PvP, like Arena, because a lot of people will use defenders. Newer players will use defenders because they've read they were good. Spoiler alert, they're not. So basically, Sinister 6 was created to counter city teams, right? So they can do pretty well against them, but they're not good. They're not good in raids. They have no sustain whatsoever. Very little defense. and their actual damage output is rather limited if you get down to it. Like, Vulture is off. Oh, I can't stand Vulture. He like tickles the opponents, man. It's not even like a feather duster. I mean, it's like the rapper that the feather duster came in is stronger than he is. But it is what it is. Mysterio does 0 damage. He has a pretty interesting control kit, but in practice it doesn't seem to work that well. Two turns of heal block later on is nice. And his ability to block it in blind is also nice, and his basic is cool to strip buffs, but I don't know. He never feels that good. Later on, basically, his deal is in war and the deflects he applies to the team, but that always pairs up really with Doc Ock, right? Because Doc Ock will heal upon deflects getting removed, but that's beyond the purview. I'm not going to talk about the newer Sinister Six characters. I'm talking about the OG guys and why they're so important for new players. So yeah, they're not all that great. Shocker's a decent, and I only mean decent, damage dealer, but he buffs his team quite a bit. Rhinos are actually a fairly beefy tank, especially with all the Sinister Six lined up because his health pool skyrockets, but he doesn't have very much for defensive tools. Damage is okay for a tank. I mean, what do you want for a tank, right? So he's pretty good at keeping the heat off you for a little while. And Green Goblin is actually probably the most versatile, even though he barely ever gets used for anything, of the team, other than Doc Ock, of course, because you can stick him on any Spider-Verse team because of the way his passive works. His passive I love his passive. I wish it was stronger, like it would skip resistance checks and all that, because that's really the only reason he's any good is because of that. But stripping away 2 positive effects later on the opposing team, every time a Spider-Verse member takes a turn, is great. That's awesome. And he's fairly tanky too. And his ultimate does decent damage, but you can't really control it too well, other than the primary target. So, yeah, the team itself is really lackluster, and they've never been great. Even when they first came out, they weren't all that great. What I do right now is I use the OG team on War Defense. On my main account, I don't have Doc Ock yet. I'll get him next time around. I've almost got Negasonic finished, but I have Electro and Swarm unlocked, but I'm not leveling them because they're a war team. That's all they are. So it's like you don't want to be dropping lots of resources into a team that only does one thing, right? But anyway, a little beyond the purview of that, let's talk about Sinister Six. Okay, so Genome, well, they're on this low nose, but you said the team kind of sucks. Why should I be collecting them? Well, because they open up some very good legendaries. Okay, Sinister Six opens up Invisible Woman, and it opens up Shuri. So the same team can unlock 2 legendaries. You don't see this in Marvel Strike Force. Why do Spider-Verse or Sinister Six open up these 2 characters thematically? I have no fracking clue. But usually they'll do a team like that just to sell orbs and stuff and make people want to pay for them. And sometimes the team doesn't really matter. Like, why does it take Kree to unlock Nick Fury? But whatever the case may be. But these are 2 legendaries you want to go for. And while they're not the highest end legendaries in the world, they're nowhere near Black Bolt and Ebony Maw levels or even Doc Ock levels, right? They're still really good for the lower and mid game player, and they can get good use later on too. Like high level Shuris and Invisible Womans are great in raids. Really quickly, the difference between them, they're both very similar characters actually. They're both kind of defensive juggernauts in the fact that they can keep not just their Fantastic Four and Wakanda teams going. Both those teams are not that great, by the way. Only thing they're good at is Wakanda's only good for the event where you get upgrade credits, silver and gold promotion credits. I can't remember what it's called right now. And then Invisible Woman Fantastic Four is just a good war offense and sometimes defense team if you have She-Hulk. Once again, beyond the purview of this. But they're very similar characters in that. I would say that if you want a real breakdown of it, in the main game modes these 2 differ in are in raids and arena. In raids, I would say Shuri is a better character because her cooldowns are lower, and I don't know, just cooldowns are lower, and that's king in raids, right? So she heals and puts defense up on teammates. That's really good. Invisible Woman does close the same thing, but without the heals. She applies barrier, and she can clear negative stats effects and throw stuff up. But that makes her a stronger arena character, right? But in any case, both these characters will take you far as a newer free-to-play player. If you can unlock those early, it's perfect. So getting back to it, let's take all filters off and go back to Sinister 6 again. Keep in mind of where I'm at now, right? 58 days. I don't even have 60 days in the game yet. I have got 2 characters to the required level. I'm just going to 5 on this account, but I got both those characters at 7 on the other. And I have 3 that may be ready for the next event. Now, right now, Ebony Maw is running as of today. I would expect, and it was supposed to be Shuri, I would expect her in about 2 to 3 weeks' time after this, right? Maybe less. Who knows right now with the schedule? It's kind of wonky. That being the case, it's going to be tight. I may be able to actually upgrade Shocker, Green Goblin, and Mysterio to 5 stars in that time if I get really lucky with drops. Now, if I miss it, that's fine. I'll get her next time around for sure. But that means next time Invisible Woman comes around, I've got her. It's guaranteed that I'm going to be able to get her. At that point, I'll probably be playing 90 days. I've already unlocked 2 legendaries that are actually useful. Now, you could be going for, and I've talked about this in earlier videos, by the way. You can be going for Nick Fury, Iron Man, Star-Lord, but Shuri, Invisible Woman will take you further. Star-Lord is a really good early game legendary, by the way, and mid-game. He's super strong, good in a lot of different game modes. It's a nice plug-and-play character, so don't get me wrong, he's really good too. But it's hard to really go hard for multiple teams and multiple different characters at the same time. You can do that once your resources get a little higher and levels get a little higher, but for the time being, I'm really focusing hard on Sinister 6. So I should have 2 legendaries here in a very short order next time they both roll around. So that'll be great. Now, one thing you're going to have to learn is how to use cores to refresh nodes, right? So let's go back there. Because if you just go by what you can get daily, you'll never get those in time, right? Especially when you're in a time crunch. So as you can see here, I've already used my campaign energy and max out the node for today. I do it first thing, right? Well, I can refresh after 50 cores, which are up here in case you don't know what they are. They're very precious. Don't waste them. You can refresh it, and you can spend your energy again. So this is going to be key for... Okay, I got 2 more shards. It's going to be key for getting characters up to 5 stars because it takes forever if you just do it once. I'll actually refresh these 2 and 3 times every day, sometimes more. It's expensive. It eats your cores up, but if you don't waste them on other things, it should be plenty. Make sure you're doing your arenas so you can get your cores too. And that's kind of it. I mean, that's what's key about them, and that's why a lot of people ask, what team should I focus on early to do well? A lot of teams will do very well in the early game, but you really don't want to build for the early game. You want to start building as early as possible for the mid and late game, because there's no sense in building a strong early game team like Defenders, for example, that will do you very well in the early game, but as soon as you hit the mid game, they fall off a freaking cliff. It's a waste of time and resources. So it's easier to struggle a little bit earlier and not even worry so much about team synergies. Just work about good characters and what you have open to kind of get you through, right? So in using the Sinister 6 first, it's kind of planning ahead for better times, greener pastures. I wanted to check something here. Of course, I don't have it open. I don't think I have most of these guys leveled beyond 25, 24, 25k, and I have all of them at 7 stars, and that's just enough to unlock Shuri and Invisible Woman at 7 stars as well. Because what you want to do on teams like this is just gear them to the bare minimum that's going to get you what you want. So there's no sense in cranking these guys up to 50k each to do those events easily, but you're not going to have much use for them other than the war defense team, right? And they're not really that good as that. They are with Doc Ock. Once again, that's more of a war offense team, and then that's talking about Electro and Swarm. Yeah, let me see where my Sinister 6 levels are on my main account. Oh yeah, for those of you wondering, so this is the kind of characters I run. So in case people think I'm lying to you. Let's see. Oh yeah, let me just filter by Sinister 6, make it easier. Okay, no, I had them a little bit higher than I thought, in the 30s. So back up, focus. Maybe you can see it there, but basically they're all in the mid-30s, low and mid-30s, and that was enough to unlock Shuri and Invisible Woman at 11 or at 7 stars. So it's just so vitally important to do things like this early. And you're going to say, well, Gino, I'm going to have a really hard time with content. Well, these guys will handle most of the villains campaign content that you are level appropriate for, right? And you can always swap people in. Like, I got really lucky with the Baron Zemo Mega Orb unlock that I got for free. Amazing. But this is where I'm talking about, like, making do with what you have, okay? You unlock Punisher early. He's a great hero. Damage dealer, right? Some of these are kind of weird. I opened huge red stars on Winter Soldier, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, so you kind of mix and match teams to get you through the campaigns as far as you can go without worrying so much about team synergy, right? Some people will say, you got to have teams, got to have teams, got to have teams. That's true later on, but not even so much then. A lot of times you're mixing and matching. Now, some teams are so powerful you have to keep them together. Like the X-Men, that's kind of in flux right now with new characters, right? But that all centers around Phoenix. Without Phoenix, the team is not good, right? Shield is a excellent team synergy team, and they can take you very far in the early and mid game. I would highly recommend them, except for Nick Fury's event is ridiculous. I've talked about this in earlier videos. I won't go into it more, but basically it's stupid. You have to get 2 teams leveled to make him work, right? You have to level up Kree decently too to unlock Nick Fury and beat his event, because his event's a little bit difficult. So you can't go with the really seriously undergeared Kree minions, right? And they're Kree. You're not going to use them anywhere, barely. And then you got to level up your shield characters afterwards to make Nick Fury's team good. So it's not easy. And the Guardians, they're just not that good. They are better than Sinister 6, though. I'll tell you that much right now. They will get you through a lot more content, but they're not very good either. In fact, they're like low mid-game, and you kind of stop using them completely, right? So I do advocate going for Star-Lord early, but I would say that it's just, instead of worrying so much about team synergy, look for what the characters you're unlocking can do for you later down the road, because that's where it is. I didn't get my first legendary in this game till like a year playing, because I didn't watch like how-tos, and I kind of played casual, and I just leveled up characters that I liked, right, in the actual comics from the old days. And so I just ignored them. And then I started grinding all the legendaries at once, and I'm just now at this point getting caught back up. I'm like, I think almost 800 days into the game, right? It takes you that long. So now I got to the point where, as a free-to-play player on my other account, I can almost always unlock a legendary on their second pass. So after the initial one, where everyone basically can only get it if they're paying money, I can get them free in the next account. So one of the keys to doing that is to getting your roster to a decent place before that actually comes around, right? And then you can start. It's so much easier. So if you don't waste time with characters, once again, like Nick Fury, Iron Man, etc. I remember I'd only recommend Magneto for the early player. It's like, he doesn't do anything for you. He's a good player, or he's a good character. He's a great PvPer, but he just didn't get used very much, right? So just all I can say is make do with what you have, but go in with a focused strategy. And like I said, my strategy for new players is definitely go hard as you can on Sinister 6, because those nodes won't always be down there forever. So you may say, well, I'll get to it later. I'm working on something more important right now. That may be the case, but those nodes won't always be there. And while it looks like they're going to be there for quite a while, that could change. That's subject to change, and maybe they won't be, or quite a while. Still takes quite a while, right? I've been working on Sinister 6 since basically day 1 of this game, or maybe day 3. I think is when I started opening up Mysterio's node or whatever. So, time is precious, and you don't always get lucky in shard drops. Many times you use your campaign energy on the node, and it doesn't give you any shards. So you're refreshing, still don't get shards. So it can really turn south on you in a hurry. So the earlier you work on stuff, the better, right? And like I said, most of the team synergies are just not that good at low levels anyway. The Avengers work all right for newer players. Once you get in Hulk unlocked, that is. And it's very important to have Thor, otherwise they don't work. It's not worth your time, right? But it's like, just so many of the teams are not that good. So don't let the whole team synergy thing, dictate how you open up characters. That's all I'm really trying to say, I guess. And sorry they got a little bit long-winded, but like I said, I like this game a lot, and I want to help people along and make it much easier on them than it was on me, because I made it hard on myself for no good reason, right? So yes, long story short, farm Sinister 6 early if you are a new player or free-to-play player. It just makes good sense. Invisible Woman and Shuri will take you much farther than any Defenders team will. because you can plug and play them on basically any team. Do not worry about Wakandans. Do not worry about Fantastic Four gathering those characters around those legendaries, because they don't offer enough help in every other game mode except for like War. It's just not worth it. So pair up, Shuri, Invisible Woman, or both of them with a couple really good characters that you already have unlocked, and you will do well in raids. And how it is with this game too is like, a lot of times nodes are specific, cosmic, city, global, whatever. There's always that. So that comes with time. You'll be able to open up those nodes and work on those nodes more as you expand your roster. But focus in the early game and have a go in with the plan, so don't waste your time and resources. All right, so hopefully this is some help to you. Sinister 6, not a good team, but they do some great things for you in the early and mid-game. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful to you, and if you did like it, please leave me a comment below. Or if you didn't like it, I suppose, I guess you can do the same. If you would, leave me a like, comment, and subscribe, or just like and subscribe while I talk about the comments, and I'll maybe have some more of these here in the near future. All right. Well, until next time, this is Genome Gaming.